Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, His Lordship the Chief Justice, the Deputy Speaker, and the Deputy Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Chairman of the Vice Chairman of the NRM, all the other leaders, and the wananchi who are listening. In the State of the Nation address, recently, I reminded you of the three historical missions of the African Revolution. I reminded you of the four ideological principles of the NRM and of how the Ugandan economy has not only grown from US dollars 1.5 billion in 1986 to now US dollars 55 billion by the exchange rate method, but also to US dollars 180 billion by the PPP method. I think the economists should get time and explain to you this difference between GDP by the exchange rate method, which is what the minister was talking about here, and GDP by the PPP method, the purchasing power parity method. The exchange rate method shrinks our economy because we are still importing items from abroad unnecessarily. We are importing unnecessarily. If you look at the size of our GDP by the PPP method, it is now 2 times the size of the South African economy when Museveni Mandela took over the leadership of that country in 1994. Because at that time, the GDP of South Africa was about 80 billion, 89 billion or something. So if you use the PPP method, the GDP of Uganda now is 2 times the size of the South African economy by the time Mandela took over government there. In the next few years, for me, I'm not waiting for the 2040, because they keep talking of the 2040. We shall catapult the economy to the size of the USD 500 billion. Why am I sure of this? It is because much of our economy today is comprised of raw materials that are in value nominally 10% of the value of the final products. By adding value to coffee, maize, forest products, minerals, etc., our economy will grow exponentially. You have seen the exports in this year, they grew by 38%. You saw the figure there, which the minister was showing you. Export earnings in 1 year from $4 billion to $7 billion. Rate of growth 38%. Because we are just underutilizing everything. This is the problem. Uganda importing furniture. You can imagine that? Importing furniture from Dubai, from India. Mama Janet here had to fight with those wonderful people in the Ministry of Education who were determined to buy furniture from India. Imagine, furniture in Tebe also takes money outside. Money is taken to buy dead people's clothes from outside. Why should we import textiles? We had some issues with the traders here, the people they call traders. What they call traders are the importers. How about, there was a man called Waluse Mpanga, in the 1950s, he was buying cattle from the Ankole area and bringing them to Kampala. He was not an importer. He was an internal distributor. According to the traders in Kampala, that one is not a businessman. This slave mentality must go away. I'm not a slave myself. I have never accepted a slave dependency mentality. That's how we were able to lead our revolution. So this importing is what is creating the discrepancy. The economy is bigger, $180 billion, but if you use the exchange rate method, it comes to 55 billion. It shrinks. But if you solve that, the size in figures will be much bigger than it is now. We have the electricity, and we shall continue expanding the generation. One time the minister here, he showed everything here in detail. And I'm glad you gave him a standing ovation. I think you may go to heaven because of showing gratitude. We have the electricity, and we shall continue expanding the generation and the transmission. The government, not the whole economy, the government alone will be having an extra $2 billion per annum. This is apart from other income streams for the country. This does not include the money to private groups and so on, but to the government. This oil money will never be used for consumption. Who is in charge, we shall never use this oil money to import perfumes and whisky and what have you. Never. It will never happen. It will only be used for infrastructure and science development. Therefore, strategic items like the railway and the irrigation will be funded by us directly. So this business of borrowing of this and that will stop. For the infrastructure, for the railway, the power stations, and the science infrastructure, we shall use this oil money to do that, but not to import those takatakas. No, those ones you continue the way you are doing now. People who do not bother to listen to our message keep talking of poverty, lack of jobs, etc. You had I'm very happy the minister and his staff, finance, are now finally capturing properly the message of the NRM. Because we have been having problems with them, the way they present things, the way they talk. Sustainable development, what is that? What does it mean? So we are very clear that prosperity means an adult person participating in producing a good or a service and selling it. And when we say participation, he may be the owner of the product or he may be an employee, but he will participate in producing a good or a service and selling it. And if you do that with the chibaro, with the proper mathematics, you will get prosperity. That's what I've been telling you. And we have been telling you, and the minister has now repeated emphatically, I'm very happy with finance now. I have nothing useful to add. And he has told you that the sectors where prosperity is are four: commercial agriculture, secondly, manufacturing and artisanship, thirdly, services, and fourthly, ICT. So in those areas, that's why you'll get prosperity. You should choose to be somewhere as a wealth creator or an employee of the wealth creator. Now, those who bother, people who do not bother to listen to our messages, keep talking of poverty, lack of jobs, etc. The four sectors of commercial agriculture, artisanship and manufacturing, services and ICT, if utilized in the manner recommended by the NRM ever since 1995, will create so many jobs that we will exceed the job levels of Uganda. Uganda doesn't have enough once we develop our full capacity. Uganda will not have enough workers. And by the way, this one happened during the time of the British, when they introduced a few activities here like coffee and cotton and sugar. That's how Africans from Rwanda, from Burundi, from South Sudan, that's how they came here. That small economy, money economy, or during the British time, created so many jobs that the internal people were not enough. That's why our brothers had to come from Rwanda, from Burundi, from South Sudan, to work here. Even now, if we all become wealth creators in the four sectors, there will be so many jobs. I've given the example of Mr. Nyakana in Fort Portal, using 1 acre to employ 15 people. And we calculated that if 7 million people did that, we would create more jobs than the population of Uganda now. But as of now, we already have 922,000 people employed in manufacturing. So therefore, clearly, minimum recovery, expansion, diversification should be clear to all of you who talk so much about some of these things. Those are the three tasks. But we also added a fourth task, the knowledge economy, for instance, automobiles, technology. When you talk of Chira, you are now talking of a new economy. You are no longer talking of just coffee and agriculture and hotels. You are not even talking of simple manufacturing. You are talking of high knowledge, high tech manufacturing. So this is the fourth task now, the transformation, minimum recovery, expansion, diversification of what was there, but also new type of economy based on science and high technology. Example, automobiles, pharmaceuticals, vaccines, etc. This is in addition some limited industrialization for some of the products in the areas of sugar, for instance, steel products by recycling scrap, soap manufacture, beer, beverages, cement, etc. So apart from the high tech, we're already moving also on that really low technology, value addition to our raw materials. And these are very important, very interesting figures. This value addition, sort of partial industrialization, is aimed at two missions. Number one, import substitution. Mulekerawo okusaka, don't import, make locally. But also export promotion. Now, apparently, when I was writing this short speech, when here in my house, when some people said about the ICU, because it allows me to do one or two things, assisted by my comrade, Mama Janet, who is here, from a distance, as you can see, safe distance. So when I was writing this short speech, I asked my people, to cross-check these figures, but because if they are true, they are very interesting. The import substitution value of these industrial products, these small industries, for all these sabuni, those low industries. The import substitution value of these industrial products is about US dollars 3.6 billion. I didn't know that these small factories of Mutayimbwa, soap, all these our little factories, that they are saving us a figure of $3.6 billion, which we would have to look for if we are still importing them. But they are also apparently bringing into the country as export earnings US dollars 1.6 billion. There was this Munyankwere woman who was catching locusts. You know, the other time when we had a problem of locusts, when they were threatening us, many people did not know that some of the Ugandans were not happy with me because I killed the locusts quickly. But some of the Ugandans who eat the locusts, they said, this man has spoiled our food. He should have allowed us to deal with these locusts. NCG. They used to catch them and eat them. So, me, I didn't know that the little work we were doing, I thought it was sweat, but apparently it is blood. It is something serious. We are saving you 3.6 billion import substitution and earning for you $1.6 billion from the exports of now no longer just coffee and so on and these other things, but industrial products. That's really
I was very happy to get that figure. However, the big proportion of our economy is still a raw materials economy. So please, especially the NRM cadres, understand this very clearly.